If you can beat Ghosts and Goblins without breaking a sweat, you're either lying or you're not human. This game didn't just challenge players, it downright haunted them. Back in 1985, Ghosts and Goblins hit Japanese arcades like a fireball from hell, and it didn't take long to spread. With its gothic horror setting and brutal platforming, it was Capcom's way of testing your reflexes, patience, and maybe even your sanity. Whether you first played it standing at a cigarette-stained arcade cabinet or huddled around a tiny CRT via your NES, one thing became clear fast. This game didn't care how old you were or how many quarters you had. It was coming for your dignity. It was developed by Capcom during their explosive rise in the arcade scene. This was the same wave that gave birth to games like Commando and Section Z. At the helm was Tokuro Fujiwara, a designer with a reputation for hard-as-nails game design. He'd later go on to work on titles like Mega Man and Resident Evil. But Ghosts and Goblins was one of his earliest showcases of what he liked to do best: make players suffer in the most memorable ways possible. The game shipped at a time when arcades thrived on tough love. Quarter munchers were the norm, and Ghosts and Goblins leaned into that with zero apologies. Its difficulty wasn't an accident, it was by design. That punishing approach turned heads and wallets, but it also sparked debates. Was it too hard to be fun? Too bleak to be fair? For many, that question only added to the mystique. Now let's dig into why Ghosts and Goblins still makes players flinch. On the surface, it's a side-scrolling platformer. You guide a brave knight named Arthur as he storms through graveyards, burning villages, and demon castles to rescue Princess Prin Prin from the clutches of Satan himself, sometimes called Astaroth, depending on the version. But underneath that surface is a ruthless game built on tension and commitment. Arthur starts every life in a suit of shiny armor. Take a hit, you're left in your boxer shorts. Take another, you're toast. That binary health system leaves no room for error, turning each screen into a death trap. The jumps are stiff by modern standards, committed arcs with no directional correction mid-air, which forces players to know exactly what they're doing before making a move. It's less about lightning reflexes and more about memorizing patterns, inch by inch, pixel by painful pixel. Each stage introduces new threats with little ceremony. Zombies erupt from the ground with zero warning. Red Aramers, those fast-moving, winged demons, dance above and swoop in with surgical cruelty. And don't even get us started on the vertical stages where a missed jump means instant death. Checkpoints are sparse, lives even sparser, and continues limited. It quickly becomes a question of how badly you really want to keep going. And then, it happens. You push through fire, bone dragons, and spike pits to face the final boss. You beat him, only to discover it was all an illusion. The game taunts you with a cruel message. This room is an illusion and is a trap devised by Satan. Go ahead dauntlessly. Make rapid progress. Translation? Start over from the beginning. Only this time it's harder. That twist, infamous as it is, became a defining moment in retro gaming history. It wasn't just about beating Ghosts and Goblins. It was about enduring it. Triumphing over it felt like winning a war of attrition, half physical, half psychological. Culturally, the game left a thick smear across the gaming landscape. It was ported everywhere: NES, Commodore 64, Amiga, you name it. Some ports were brutal in different ways, slowed by compromised graphics or clunky controls, but somehow the spirit remained intact. If you've ever watched a Ghosts and Goblins speedrun, you know the kind of obsessive mastery it demands. Even modern players still take on the challenge, some using glitches, it's going purist. Either way, it's seen as a rite of passage. The soundtrack also deserves its own mention. Composed by Ayako Mori, the melodies mix jaunty chiptune march with eerie minor key haunting. It's upbeat and terrifying at the same time, a perfect sonic match for the on-screen chaos. Over the years, Capcom returned to the series again and again. There was Ghouls and Ghosts, which turned everything up with slicker visuals and new weapons. Then Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the SNES, which added double jumps and new armor forms. Each sequel kept the same unflinching challenge, but layered in more complexity and style. Side projects like Maximo on the PlayStation 2 even tried to modernize the premise, shifting toward 3D action platforming while keeping that same Arthur and Boxer's DNA. Ghosts and Goblins also left its mark in countless other ways. Who could forget Arthur's cameos in fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom? He's become part of gaming's collective memory, an avatar for bravery, perseverance, and oftentimes hilarious failure. Today, Ghosts and Goblins still matters, not because it's flawless, but because it dares to be so brutally itself. There's no hand-holding, no safety nets, and no false comforts. That's why it still attracts a dedicated following. If you're a platformer fan looking for a badge of honor, or just curious how far game design has come since the days of quarter-fueled punishment, it's worth entering the graveyard, if only to see how long you last. In the end, Ghosts and Goblins continues to stand as one of gaming's most merciless gauntlets. It doesn't care how good you are, it only cares if you keep trying. And sometimes, that's all it takes to become a legend. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more lost classics, crushing challenges, and pixel-perfect history, hit subscribe, because we're just getting started.